In today's digital age, we use computers, phones, tablets, along with hundreds of other devices to access information almost instantly. Only 20 years ago, when I was growing up, this seemed impossible. If you wanted to get information on a chosen subject, you had to go to your local library and search through the mountains of books until you found the information you needed. Now though, you open your web browser and you pick your favourite search engine, and the information is quite literally at your fingertips. So in this age of free access to information, there are a few things that bug me. Is access to online information actually free? Who has access? Who keeps an eye on what happens online? How can we protect information? How do we share information? How does having access to all this information shape us as a society? Over the next few minutes, I plan to answer as many of these questions as I can. Or depending on where you're accessing the internet, it can be free. For example, you can go to your local library and use their computers, or hook yourself up to a Wi-Fi hotspot in your local coffee shop. Other than that, you must pay an internet service provider for the privilege of accessing the internet. Once you're online, you have a wide variety of options to where you go for the information that you're after. You can use services such as Wikipedia, YouTube and the BBC's website to get the information you need for free, but there are also paid-for services with one-off fees and subscriptions, such as online newspapers, video streaming and data storage. So who has access to this information? Well, mostly it's developing countries that have access to the wealth of information found online. Now, this is not to say it is impossible to get a connection in third world or developing countries. It's just not cheap or easy to do. For instance, it might all depend on how developed a country is, whether someone can afford the necessary equipment, or whether the government of a country allows access and how much access is given to its citizens. Many governments around the world limit what people can see online. For example, in Denmark, the government established a system that blocks a long list of websites and that citizens of Denmark are not able to see. They also didn't know that they were blocked until they tried to access these pages. When the list was then released on WikiLeaks, WikiLeaks was then also blocked, so that people in Denmark couldn't see the list, but those outside that it didn't affect could. There are many organisations around the world that watch the internet and keep track of people's behaviour. These include, but are not limited to, the National Security Agency in the US, GCHQ in the UK, and the Australian Signals Directorate. GCHQ, among other British governments, have just had a massive boost in power they hold when it comes to online information gathering, thanks to the Investigatory Powers Bill that was made into law in November last year. One of the major changes this bill invokes is that internet service providers must keep a list of every website somebody has visited in the last 12 months and give this information to the requesting department, no questions asked. It's hard to figure out where to draw the line when it comes to surveillance and website blocking. I can see where it would help catch criminals in certain situations, but to be told what websites I can view by any government takes things a bit too far for me. We may be heading to something similar to George Orwell's 1984, or Theresa May's 2017, if you will. There are a number of ways we can protect ourselves and the information we send whilst using the internet. Many services we use today have these built into them in order to stop us from stealing content. Content providers such as Netflix, Amazon and Apple, among other services, use services such as digital right management, or DRM to you and me. DRM are various access control technologies that are used to restrict the usage of hardware and copyrighted works, such as software and media content. When I was growing up, if I wanted to watch a TV programme after it was broadcast, I would just pop in a blank VHS tape, record it and then play it back later. Now though, if I want to watch the latest episode of a programme, I need to use an on-demand video service. Sometimes these are free, such as BBC iPlayer, ITV Player or All4, but again, there are paid-for services such as Netflix, Amazon Prime Video and iTunes. where you can either pay a subscription or you can rent an episode or movie to watch online. To protect ourselves online though, we can use virtual private networks or proxy servers to send encrypted data around the world. Though these services can be blocked by some internet providers, and your internet speed can be drastically reduced. There are a number of ways we can share information online. For example, I have my own website that has my portfolio, CV and blog on it. I also occasionally use social media networks such as Facebook and Twitter to contact friends and family. You can use one of the many forums or chat rooms to talk to others about a chosen subject. You can also use VoIP services to make and receive calls for free all over the world. Whether it's better to have one online home for your things or to use a number of services that other people have made available, all depends on the services you require and the skills that you have. There are also peer-to-peer or P2P technologies that have been rising in popularity over the last few years. P2P can be used to share files between computers, send currency such as Bitcoin to friends and family, and businesses across the world. And there's now a trend of growing P2P social networks, meaning that companies such as Facebook and Twitter don't get to keep your information and sell it on to others. Over the coming years, I see P2P growing even further and become a large part of the way we use the internet to communicate with each other. According to the theory of technological determinism, media technology shapes how we as individuals in our society think, feel and act. It also affects how our society operates as we move from one technological age to another. Basically, this means as technologies have changed from word of mouth to written word and now to electronic communication, our cultures and society have changed to adapt to the new technology. It was Martin McLuhan who said,
"We learn and feel and think the way we do because of the message we receive through the current technology that is available. The radio required us only to listen and develop our sense of hearing. On the other hand, television engages our hearing and our visual senses. We then transfer those developed senses into our everyday lives and we want to use them again. The medium is then our message."
Basically, what McLuhan was saying is that it's not the thing that's put across in the message that we pay attention to, it's the way the message is put across, and that affects how we take the message on board. Take adverts for example. When you listen to the radio, you hear the adverts most likely in the background when you're working on something else, and don't really take much note of the message itself. The same applies to images in newspapers, on billboards, and those annoying ones at the side of the page when you're online. If you're watching on something on the TV or on Netflix or YouTube, you're more likely to take the adverts on board because you're using more of your senses. Then there's also the fact that these adverts are repeated, ingraining the message further, but that's a topic for another day.